Ladies and gentlemen, it's a fabulous pleasure to be here today, and particularly to follow the Minister, without whom we wouldn't perhaps be here talking about this Act at all. And it's great to be in Birmingham and in the West Midlands. As the Member of Parliament for Warwick and Leamington, representing a West Midlands seat, nothing would make me more proud that the West Midlands was not only the centre of industry in this country, but also the centre for social value in the UK. In this regard, we are very fortunate to have Melanie, we could say, amongst us, because I think she moves all over the place with tremendous energy and tremendous support for all the varied and different groups that are involved in making this happen, and showing the leadership that Nick talked about in his words earlier. I'd also like to thank Unity Trust for the work they do, and which is great in so many terms. The one thing you mentioned was on the living wage, which I would be keen to hear about how that's worked, and I think it's something which personally, in principle, I'm very much in support of. This section of today's event is called Social Value, outlining the opportunity. And I think the word opportunity is incredibly important. When I was putting the bill together, one of my biggest concerns, and I know it is the concerns was the concerns of ministers and their colleagues, was that this should not become a burden on local authorities and on the public sector as a whole. I'm sure we all appreciate that we seem to live in an age of regulation, where it is all too tempting to put obligations onto authorities in order to minutely direct each and every activity. And I certainly didn't wish to add to this through the Act. For this reason, I try to make the Act as permissive and as flexible and as open as we possibly could. The Act is designed to tap into your creativity, the creativity of our communities, and encourage public bodies to think differently about the way that they go about doing their business. This may sound idealistic, but to paraphrase one American president, I am an idealist, but without illusions. I know that a few lines in a piece of legislation will not change anything on the ground for communities, however much we try and tell ourselves otherwise. Without the spirit of social value being taken up by local authorities and public bodies, I think the best way to do that is think of social value as this opportunity. An opportunity for public bodies to commission services in a customised or bespoke fashion, and to know that they have the legislative cover to consider other issues than just the simple, straightforward financial cost when they are commissioning those services. An opportunity for public bodies to co-produce with their communities and consult with them effectively and genuinely about how we design public services, and tapping into the ideas of our most important asset, which is our local people. And finally, an opportunity to reduce costs in the long term by getting the most out of our public services, instead of storing up problems that we'll have to deal with sometime in the future. Now, I know that many of you will think that the rhetoric is fine and great. It will, however, never work in practice, and to that I most strongly disagree. If we need proof of how this can work, then we need to look no further than the city out of these windows today. As I'm sure we all know, one of the greatest political figures of the 19th century and champion of Birmingham, Joseph Chamberlain, would be, I would argue, the first great social value pioneer. Despite the cries of criticism from laissez-faire purists and skeptics, he revolutionised this city, helping to improve public health, housing and transportation. Using both a mixture of private and public investment, he helped to turn Birmingham into one of the greatest cities in the world. He realised that as well as having a functioning city, or indeed country, could not rest alone on purely financial improvement, but that the social well-being and environment of its people as well. He said in a speech in 1885 in Birmingham's Town Hall, "What is to be the nature of the domestic legislation of the future? I cannot help to think that it will be more directed to what are called social subjects, how to promote the greater happiness of the mass of the people, how to increase their enjoyment of life. That is the problem of the future." Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are now in that future. We are living in that future. And we need to reform the way that we undertake our public services so that we can think about communities in a holistic sense, rather than just commissioning in silos and failing to grasp the wider social picture. Social value is an opportunity to do just that, by asking all public bodies to think about the wider social, environmental, and economic well-being when they commission public services. We can start to break down some of these barriers and ensure that we get maximum value out of our public money. I think the best way that we can achieve this is to pool together commissioning in public bodies so that we can think more in terms of projects rather than in terms of authorities or budgets or bodies. Commissioning within a certain narrow area such as a department or budget, as we know, tends to create suboptimal commissioning environment. There is little incentive for departments to create additional value outside of their particular own space. They don't appropriate the returns, and creating additional health budgets, for example, out of a public safety budget, often sees the commissioner receive little reward, credit, or recognition. A wider project-based approach is being successfully deployed in many local authorities through community budgets, which enables public bodies to share budgets and focus on improving outcomes and maximising social value. And I hope, and I know the government will roll out this approach across the country very shortly. However, the commissioning side of things is only one half of the challenge. The other half is finding providers which can actually deliver this social value. The best kind of partner for delivering social value, I believe, is social enterprise. And it's right that the social enterprise sector has got behind this act. Social enterprise makes the most sense for delivering social value because, at the end of the day, it brings consideration of wider social, economic, and environmental benefits and well-being into the very heart of its business. Social enterprises exist to create social value. Therefore, there is no better vehicle to develop social value through social enterprise. The challenge is, how do we get social enterprises in a position to successfully deliver these projects and services? In this is a very much a central issue facing social enterprises at the moment. Public bodies need to give social enterprises a hand by the way that they design contracts. Large contracts, which carry large risks, are unlikely at the moment to be won by social enterprises. Smaller contracts, which carry fewer risks, are more amenable to social enterprises and more amenable to creating social value as well. That being said, it is not the responsibility of public bodies to develop social enterprises, and the sector itself needs to rise to the challenge. And I hope, in a combination with, as mentioned already, the big society capital and other new social investment vehicles, we can create new partners for public bodies in developing this social value. In terms of creating new organisations and supporting social value, I believe that consultation is critical. Although the Act says that public bodies merely have a duty to consider consultation, I think this should really be read as a duty to consult. And why is this the case? Firstly, without strong public engagement, I believe it will be difficult for public bodies to identify what social value is for their particular community. There is no simple metric for social value in the sense of financial value, as there is for commissioning purely on the basis of financial cost. Communities will have to develop their own idea of what social value means in their own area and in their own community. Secondly, Civil organisations and social enterprises often do not have the resources to reach out to contracts in the same way as traditional businesses do. Full consultation will ensure that all relevant organisations are alerted and give others the chance to form consortia or even partnerships. While I'm very confident that many of you already engage together as social enterprises in this way, sometimes it can be difficult to get that process started, and full consultation will ensure that you gain maximum exposure. Finally, consultation, I think, will help organisations to break down internal barriers and focus on how they can maximise public good through the use of service contracts. Today, you will have the opportunity to hear from colleagues and experts who are far more expert in social value than myself. But I hope the Minister and I have showed how strong the political support is for making this happen and making this reality. I think the best way to conclude would be to quote again from the figure that I started with, Joseph Chamberlain. When responding to criticism from Gladstone about his radical programme, which he had deployed so successfully in Birmingham, and asked whether it could be repeated across the country, he simply responded, "If we fail, let us try again and again until we succeed." This is the kind of resolve that we need if social value is to succeed. And I hope that our region can draw inspiration from its revolutionary past to bring it to fruition. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.